if you're a parent, you've probably had to sit down with your children and talk to them about the current situation with COVID-19. It's a very interesting discussion. Here we are making very drastic moves, taking really, really key steps, and the battleground isn't really the virus. Now hear me out on this. What the battleground is our fear. That when our fear possesses us, when we are under the spell, the hypnosis of our own fear, we can't bring ourselves to a calm state. We generate stress, fight, flight, or freeze. And one of the ways to flight is to minimize the conflict, downplay it, and go to our impulses and gratifications. And just do whatever we want, do whatever we feel like. And it's a great way to deal with the threat. Because in our eyes, it makes us feel free. But there are unintended consequences, because what we're being asked for is to pay attention to the collective, to the community, because we see how our actions are interdependently connected to affecting other people who could get sick through our behavior. So we must take caution. We take caution because of the ecosystem. And when we do, we organize out of our basic goodness for the greater good, our basic care and concern for the commons. So I sat down with my 13-year-old daughter, and I asked her, what does it mean to be in this? And the word that we kept coming up with was fragile. If you're fragile, it means you're breakable. Something breaks you in half. You're fragile. You're like glass. You can be broken. So if there's fragile, what does it mean to be anti-fragile? Well, anti-fragile would suggest the opposite. So then I started thinking, well, we got to be anti-fragile leaders, anti-fragility. How about anti-fragility fitness? Oh, there you go. Well, that's good. Anti-fragility fitness. I like that. But that got me thinking. It's like being in an abused house. We're not sure where the attack's going to come from next. We don't know what's out there. And part of that's true. That's part of our evolutionary fear, which is we're in the realm of uncertainty. And we cannot see. We can't see in the dark. Right? But then there's that fear that comes over us, that quality that we intelligently try to protect ourselves, but it doesn't do us much good because then we get under the action and the behavior and the decisions of that fear, you see. When that happens, it closes us off to possibilities and potential. We become fragile to making more mistakes, to get distracted by negative thinking, doubt. We get distracted by our own ignorance. And then when we're afraid, we resort to more decisions that aren't necessarily good. So the more that we put ourselves at risk, the more risk we put ourselves at risk. So there are 6 domains of concern. Change management is number 1. 2, stress management. 3, relationship management. 4, earnings management. 5, finance management. And 6, business management. So my daughter and I drew out a human being. We drew a picture, and then she kind of got a hold of it and formulated the picture of this human being, and we started at the head, C for change management. The ability to stay present, to be attentive to what's right here and now, to be mindful, to be focused. And within that change management process, we find ourselves needing 4 capacities. 1 is we have to suspend our judgment. These days, with so much news and so many social distractions, it's easy for us to inaccurately portray where we really are, what's really going on around us. And so in a default pattern, we fill in the blanks like an ad lib to our own mental model, to our own database, our expectations, our ideals, what we think will happen, our predictions, our beliefs. And all they are just beliefs. They're mental constructs. So the first step in change management is to suspend our automatic mind stuff so we can recognize things just as they are. And then we get into accepting things, accepting others, accepting differences, which is respecting. And respecting is a heart perception. It's not a head perception. It's not intellectual. It's emotional. By opening our hearts and letting go of cynicism, we can see where other people are. We can sense where they are in their suffering. And so we can use our sensing perceptions to really get a hold of where other people are outside of our own bubble. And we can do this by hearing voices other than our own, from all sides of the earth, from other parts, geographically. We can sense what's there. And that brings us to the choice to accept, to the intention of acceptance, that others are legitimate others, and to respect where they are, not where we want them to be. We have to hold an open heart and an open mind. And to do that, we have to learn to presence. Because once we see as things are and we feel and sense, then we can get a hold of maybe something that wants to emerge, where we can act from within the wholeness that we're a part of and sense where it's ready to expand. And so too do we ask ourselves, who do I want to be during all of this? Who do I want to be during all of this? How do I want to be there for others? And we turn in the direction of our own wisdom and follow it with alacrity, willingness, courage. And then we voice what shows up for us, what matters to us, what presents itself. Once we voice it, we can notice it. We can make it real. We can give it validation without being reduced. Listening, presencing, voicing, suspending, respecting. These are the qualities of meeting the challenge of change. This is about changing our interior condition. We have to let go of fear and let come something different, something new, something waiting to be born through us. We have to realize that the change is not being done to us, it's happening for us, so that we get to do something constructive. We get to act from a place that can bring us closer to a larger sense of authentic being, of ourselves, our authentic way of being, our truth. What we're talking about is primordial. It has no reference to the past. It's pure transcendent into the conversational nature of reality, that whatever we had before, we stand there at the gateway and it can't survive it. So change management has to do with showing up, seeing what has heart and meaning, respecting, seeing without criticism and judgment, and not being attached to the outcome, being open to it, letting go of fear. That's the walk. We know the path by walking. In the next audio, I'm going to talk about stress management.